Okay, well, very, very warm welcome, everyone. It's really great to have you here. I think a few more will join us throughout the session, but I think just to be aware of everybody's time, let's already get started. Um, Very warm welcome to our 10th Artists Roundtable. This time it's on arts and culture in educational and youth-focused spaces. My name is Marie Wittig, and I work for Culture Action Europe, which is the biggest European network of cultural networks, organizations, artists, and researchers. In this organization, we also have this small group team that works on culture and health, and that's Cornelia Kisch and me. And Cornelia is here with me today as well, which is great. Um, but next to her, I'm really proud to present three wonderful artists and speakers who are with me here today. And here are Rochelle Gatt, who is based in Malta, and you just saw her wave. We have Iris Hernández Gómez, who is based in Spain. And we have Katja Grässli, who is based in the Netherlands. Thank you for waving, and so we see who's whom. And you also notice that we're all sharing the same culture and health platform background. That's how you identify the speakers. So introducing our speakers leads me to the agenda for today's event. And let me just share my background with you so I can share the agenda with you. There we go. So I will have a short, rather brief introduction and overview of the Culture and Health Platform project. Then Rochelle will share her experiences from her work at the Vocational College of MCAST with the EXIT framework developed by Dr. Melinda Meyers. But she will provide a small overview herself. Then Iris will follow, and she represents the NADA Colectivo. She is part of this collective together with Anna and Francesca, and I'm very happy that she's representing them today. And she will present two projects and that they developed and will reflect on them. And then thirdly, Katja will share her learnings from her work. She works primarily on inclusion and specifically to unite the hearing and non-hearing community. I hope I put this right, Katja, but again, I'm happy when she will share what she will do a little more precisely later. Just that you know what will happen. Lastly, we will have a session or a breakout room session. This is about sharing your experiences and advice. So first, we will hear from our three artists, what they learned throughout their projects. But because we really want to build this community and network between you, all of you, this will be the opportunity for you to connect and exchange and ask questions and yeah, just share what you've been experiencing so far. Just for you to know, the first part right now we will record. The second part, when we start the breakout rooms, we will stop the recording. Just that we create a safe space and you don't feel awkward asking any questions and you can just really speak freely. Oh, I just see that I made a little mistake because actually after each presentation we have a short Q&A session, a time for questions. I'm sorry, I forgot this here. After number two, of course, we will also have a short session, Q&A session after Rochelle's presentation. Yeah, let me begin to just explain briefly how all of this began. In case you've been our guest already in other roundtables, you might want to just go and get your cold drink for the next 5 minutes before Rochelle will start her presentation because this is what I already said in the last roundtable as an introduction. So the platform originates in the Culture for Health project and its resulting Culture for Health report. So in short, the Culture for Health report puts together how culture and cultural activities contribute to health and well-being. Next to the Culture for Health report, I would also like to highlight the project database that started in 2023 and now contains so many projects already, I think more than 800. And Cornelia will put the link in the chat if possible. And please do feel welcome to add your project there and try and connect and find another project that might actually already be happening close to you or happening in the same field. From this project, two sister projects were born 1.5 years ago. One, on the one hand side, the CARE project, which focuses on structural solutions to increase mental health and well-being through arts engagement and how we can work together across sectors to scale up in arts and health. And then on the other hand, and this is what we are focusing on today, the platform project, we focus on directly supporting the artists who are actively engaged in this field of culture and health. Yeah, to give you a brief overview of what the platform is, we are it's a big project with 17 members from 15 countries. And we are still growing. So each year we are having one new member from a new country, if possible. Yeah, let's go to the platform actions. So we provide financial support via national calls, but this year we also had our first EU-wide call. We support and build artist capacity. So we have both online and offline trainings, both locally in local languages, but also internationally in English. And I will refer to that to upcoming trainings by the end of today's session. We have shadowing projects. Currently, we actually have two calls running, and again, I will refer to them later. But this is the time to sign up or to write an application. Then, of course, we make sure that you will get to the shadowing program via our mobility funds. We take care of our supported artists, and we will showcase them in our showcasing events. The next one's coming up in early September. From 8th and the 8th and the 9th will be the days of the main conference in Vienna, Austria this year, 8th and 9th of September. We do awareness raising webinars for the health and social sectors. And then this is what brings us here today, is our other networking events. So yeah, we are presenting artists, but also, as I already said before, we use the breakout session so you can connect more. And soon, hopefully last year, we will also have an artist database. You already find quite a few artists, and that are those who have been selected via our calls. You can find them already on our homepage, but this will also open soon, hopefully next year, to have an online artist database where you can find artists working in this intersection of culture and health. But that was, I think that was enough from my side. I would now like to move on to Rochelle's presentation, and I will stop my presentation here. And I will lead over to Rochelle. Thank you so much for joining us, and a very warm welcome, Rochelle. Thank you for being here. Over to you.
Thank you. Just to check, screen is okay? You can see
It's
my
absolutely
presentation.
perfect. Yeah, no, it's
Super.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for all of that, Marie. I might not be saying MCAST, I will say MCAST. That's where I work and where the
Thank you.
project happened.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. And I would like to start before like diving into the context by giving you a little bit of a map of who I am, as my practice is a bit of a puzzle, which I don't know, I'm guessing that is similar to most of us on this call today. So my work right now is a hybrid of expressive arts, facilitation. So when you hear me say EXA, that's is expressive arts. Movement direction. I'm a theater maker as well, and I volunteer in an NGO in Malta with Dr. Clown. So I'm a volunteer healthcare clown, and I'm really also into capoeira practice and puppetry. So for me, these somehow are the roots of how I understand and the power of play in communal settings. So what I'm sharing with you today is a framework of expressive arts, and it is designed specifically for community work. And this project got together education, performance, and psychosocial support. Um, so a little something on how come I'm here with you today. I don't know what is your landscape in your own countries, but in Malta, institutions don't usually come knocking on the door of the artist saying, "Hey, can you share a project with us?" It's very much dependent on the artist hunting for funding or opportunities. And I actually had to pitch the project to the institution where I work myself. And at the same time, so during the same months, I saw this call for a research lab with red noses. And I was very grateful. I was selected amongst another 12 artists. We were 12 artists at the end. And this was a chance for me to be with other artists who are pioneering in their own kind of context and with similar projects, and also for my project to be shared with others. So this is why I'm here today sharing this. Um, so the project happened at this vocational college where we have a pre-entry level, and it invites a variety of socio-economic, also poor socio-economic statuses to have a chance for education, but it's not only bachelor's level. So there are a couple of years before you enter the bachelor's program. And I decided to share this project with a level 2, which is a pre-entry level. And why this particular level? Because research at the school where I work at has a very high dropout rate during this particular year. And this is because students here are having this liminal space where they're uncertain about their future. They're struggling to find a sense of belonging, and also they find it hard to have, stable peer groups. So in total, throughout a span of 4 or 5 months, I worked with 3 groups, one of which was a control group, and the other 2 were intervention groups. And one of the groups was composed mainly of international students. And because of the way it work, there was some sort of unintentional marginalization happening. So they were always, the international group, never mixing with the locals or with other students within the whole institution. So this creates some sort of like invisible tension, which is not their blame to kind of carry. So then the other 2 groups, the experimental one, when I started to work with them, I also observed very quickly signs of trauma-informed backgrounds and these kind of like dynamics that they are the outsiders. And this taught me very quickly that as a facilitator, you have to be very, very flexible. So even if you plan something, you have to lead with the listening nature and not with the plan. So something to share. Normally, the framework asks that each session is 1.5 hours or 2. But I can proudly say that I was able to stay with these youths without the use of their phones and very, very little amount of breaks because they didn't want the big breaks to stay with the framework and with each other. 3-hour sessions. So from 2 hours, we went to 3-hour sessions per week. And alongside this, I also had students along the way who joined like through word of mouth. And so others that were experiencing the framework itself were kind of telling them to join, and there was a point where they could join, which was midway. So something about the framework. The framework that I'm sharing is EXIT, which would stand for Expressive Arts in Transition. And I wasn't the one to invent it. So like Marie said in the beginning, this framework was originated by Dr. Melinda Meyers. And she started this work with Bosnian refugees. And it was mostly for people with exile. But now this framework can be provided in various contexts and also educational ones. And I was privileged to learn the framework directly from her. And I had implemented it a couple of times before. And before I did this project, I asked her, Melinda, can I bring in the modality of play a little bit more? I have an idea. And she gave me her blessing for this. And so something to share very quickly is that in expressive arts, we have this mantra. It's low skill, high sensitivity. So whatever we share, we aren't there for technical mastery or to become the great artist, but it's about making the accessibility of arts for everybody and for them not to feel that I'm not good enough, that they can express through the art. And in fact, we really go with this multimodal application. So Dr. Meyers, for instance, structured it in a way that includes verbal, visual movements, mural making, and imaginative processes. And she also got the flipped classroom environment, which maybe some educators here are familiar with, that it empowers the ones following the program so that they can lead at a certain point. So what did I do differently this time? I filled their classroom, their normal classroom, with 50 different balls, different textures, sizes, colors. And why did I go for this? Because for me, the ball is a universal symbol of play. And it's an object that invites you in and it connects and it communicates. And so throughout the process, without me knowing so much in the beginning, the ball became what we call a transitional object. And this reflected the journey of the individual, but also the group. So the objects gave me a really nice kind of artifact mood board to understand what is happening in the process itself. So I started to understand why does one group from the two groups needs to make more noise and their kind of actions are very different than the other group. Or one student always pick the same ball, always goes in the same corner and is always dribbling. And if it changes, when does it changes and what is happening in the group, I also started to question when does play become communal without the need of me being there, because this also started to surface and started to emerge. So yes, the inclusion of these objects really helped the expression and the animation of each student and kind of their inner state, when words or other forms of communication could not express that. Something which is like a biggest takeaway for me, I took the importance of the interplay between structure and spontaneity. So as artists, I often feel that, or as educators, that we see a potential in the classroom, but we don't always have the structure to hold it and to make it deeper. But with this framework, the structure could do this sort of heavy lifting for me as a facilitator. So I could really focus on being present and responsive to what is happening. And when you have that balance between spontaneity and structure, I feel that impact and kind of that is when the magic can happen. So another kind of thing that I noticed also when it comes to a sense of support, I had two strong kind of support for me during the process. I was from week to week having supervision from somebody who knows the framework quite well, Shabray Jackson. So she was following what is happening with the two groups, and we were discussing. I think this is really important for such processes. And then later, when I joined the research lab with Red Noses, the sense of support, one, came from the artwork itself that we were doing with other artists who are maybe, I don't know, having these experiences of burnt out situations, but also with this kind of necessity to keep going. But also apart from that kind of artistic support, the lab also gave me the chance to be patient with who I am as an artist, going with such processes and kind of opening the communication with other institutions that could be money givers or hosts, places where such processes could happen. So this was a learning. So something with regards what was like a learning experience, and this was when I understood that play maybe shouldn't be the starting point. So it was like session 8, and I went in during like the beginning of the session to explore what is commitment, and I planned this barometer exercise to ask them what is commitment for them. But the group couldn't even get past the notion of understanding for them what is the definition of commitment in that moment. And I noticed that something was off, and there was this sort of like uneasiness in the room. And all of a sudden, one of the participants shared that they do not feel included and wanted in the group. And in that moment, I said, okay, I can't go on with the plan of what is play today. I had to stop. And I asked the group if they consider this person to be part of the group. And more than half of the people said no. And that was a total shock to me. And there was also harmful language which was going on. And at that point, I tried to ground in my body, and I did my best to redirect the session from something which was more of like a personal accusation towards a collective responsibility. And we took some time, I mean, we took a lot of time to speak about safety and what helps to feel the person feel secure in the space. And it was a hard moment for me to hold. And what challenged me was like to understand how quickly difference and difficulty become a justification for excluding somebody. And at the same time, I was also recognizing the growth of this particular participant who spoke up. Because it was a male, was somebody who in the sessions struggled to believe that they had something to offer in the group. But, you know, hey, at session 8, they started to take risks and share a little bit who they are and how they feel. So that was a big step for me. So on that session, I chose to abandon the original plan and to continue to acknowledge more the emotional weight rather than the play. Because otherwise, if I went with the plan, it would have been somehow dishonest. And naming the tension, it was also another learning curve for me, was a space which created more truth and more authenticity and honesty. So then we could go on. Otherwise, I think the block would have been still there with us. So something like what is essential for me when we work, you know, when the intersections of culture and health come together. For me, this would be the concept of salutogenesis, which is also something that Melinda shared with me. Again, I didn't come up with it. It's Antonovsky. So this is something which, instead of focusing on what is the pathology, it focuses on what keeps the community healthy. So rather than working from a pathology-based perspective, the shift would be what is the strength here in the room? What is the strength in the body of the group? And I was not trying to fix the students. Sometimes this is a little bit the prime instinct of a teacher, you know. I was, you know, from session 1 going in with the intention that I'm holding the framework with the awareness that I'm trying to recognize and activate what is already there, both in the individual and also on the communal level. And each participant, for them to also see and witness that they bring something essential. So I think this is where I see see a connection between culture and health, because culture for me provides the space for meaning making, and health in this project, for instance, it brought forward the sense of belonging, agency, and recognition. And salutogenesis for me allows these two to coexist together and reinforce each other. Yes, and this is important, that the group is not complete with the absence of of its members. It's not the same. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. Sorry if I rushed through the slides, but I forgot along the way.
No, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Rochelle. Thank you like so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really interesting. And also thank you for sharing like this moment which where one might have thought things don't exactly go after plan, but yeah, just to like show us very clearly the need of adjusting when you
Mm-hmm.
see it, and asking also like it's not always that obvious where the group might need a little help, but to ask and then to readjust and find a way that really works for the group. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for Rochelle. If there is
Welcome.
a question, I would really like to invite you to ask your question. Um, if there is no question right away, I have one. So feel
Sure,
free
sure.
to phrase your question while I'm speaking. I was just curious because you said at the beginning that this exit framework, that it was put together for people in exile, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, like, why did you decide that it might work very well for your students?
So yes, the origin was that, but Dr. Melinda has been working with this framework, I would say, for more than 2 decades. And along the way, she understood that this framework could be given to educational institutions, to families, um, to also healthcare workers. So it can be exposed to different settings. The only requirement that she always keeps, that should be always there, is that the group is having some sort of common liminality or some sort of common space of not knowing what is going to happen next. So I have also, for instance, shared it with groups that they're not sure, even if they are, let's say, experts or not, if they're not sure if Malta is the right context for them, if they want to make the step to go beyond Malta, for instance. Or now I'm also sharing it with a group of youth which are in foster care, and maybe because the system, I don't know, every country has kind of like some sort of different ways their institutions work, but some governmental kind of let's say allowances or possibilities are only till age, for instance, 24 or 22. So what's going to happen when you're age 24 and maybe you need to kind of find a new space of not knowing, which was not the care that you had before.
Mhm.
Um, so it's important for the group to share like this common liminality, so it can work with any group as long as there is a shared
Mhm.
common unknowingness.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I understand. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Please feel free to maybe put a link in the chat for people to find this framework. I think that would be very um,
Sure. There's nothing really written concrete because
okay.
she believes that one has to kind of learn it through embodiment with others.
Okay.
But I can share definitely whilst the second presenter is going,
Yeah,
I will share.
amazing. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Rochelle. And
I have a question. What was the source you mentioned? I'm not sure what source could be though. Maybe the name of the framework
I
or
think, or
exit.
yeah,
Express. I will write it as well.
yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thank
Mhm.
you. In case there's, yeah, okay. So people are curious to learn more where they find it. All right, then I will give Rochelle the space to answer those questions in writing, and I will invite uh, Iris to the to the stage. So welcome. Yeah, very warm welcome to you. And I give over to your presentation. Thank you for being with us today. And I think you are still muted for now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, are you all watching the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna try and move this to the side.
I don't think, unless it bothers you, we don't see it.
No, it was in the middle of the text. That's why.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Edith. I'm one of the cultural workers behind Locus project. Today we're gonna be talking about some of the parts of this project. And to start with, I wanted to propose this little game. The idea is to drive the presentation a little bit mad and to shift the way traditional presentations are usually done. So for the next slides, I won't be the main speaker. I want that your voices take more space. So the idea is for you to be reading a part of the script. It's going to be showing on the screen. It's going to be very easy. The instruction is that there's going to be a series of bubble speech that are going to appear in the screen. And whoever feels like they want to read it, they just need to open the mic and go ahead. And also, yes, don't worry if your English is not perfect. Mine isn't. So whoever wants to participate, would you please react with an emoji? I can see the emojis. Like, I don't know if Marie, you can tell me if someone is reacting or not.
Mhm.
Yes? Okay. So we just go ahead. There are going to be the three bubble speeches, and whoever wants to open the mic reads.
At the San Giovanni Asylum, 12 June 1972, to the mayor of Trieste. My name is Marco Cavallo. I have worked for many years at the hospital carrying laundry, waste and heavy loads through rain, snow, and heat.
Now I have learned that I may be sold and sent to the slaughterhouse because a machine can replace my work. I ask you to reconsider this decision. I am old but still have life ahead on me. I do not ask for much, only to remain alive in the place where I have lived and worked for so long. My friends here were willing to care for me and provide what I need.
I know what awaits animals sent away like this. I ask you with all my heart not to let that happen to me. If you show mercy to one poor animal, many people here will be grateful. With sincere greetings, Marco Cavallo.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. Well, this text was done by the psychiatric inmates of Trieste in 1972, and they wrote the letter in the name of their animal companion that was a horse that was going to be sent to the slaughter. So, inspired by this letter, in Locus, we seek to place an asterisk in this conversation around culture and mental health through different creative gestures. All of this comes from a context that I think a lot of us already know, and it's the fact that we live in a society marked with the erosion of social rights, increasing precarity, mental health crisis. There is 720,000 people that die by suicide every year, and this has been increasing since the COVID pandemic. Yet, the dominant responses continues to rely on psychiatric drugs, on confinement, on medical restraints, and that is far from healing, and it generates a dependency, chronifies the suffering, disabled, traumatized, and in some cases, sadly, kills. So, in fact, of this reality with Locus, we respond from the mad pride. Mad Pride is this social movement that was born in the 19th and it was born from psychiatric survivors. So the idea is to politicize the psychological distress and reclaim the psychic difference as a legitimate form of existence. In our case, since we work from the cultural framework, our idea is that in a cultural system where cultural projects become sometimes uncomfortable for the institutions, we like to respond with this idea of mad culture. In this sense, Locus is pioneering in this intersection, let's say, between culture and madness, and framing it within the framework of mad culture. That is a current emerging movement that goes beyond this more aesthetic expression to become an exercise of radical imagination. We want cultural projects that are imperfect, that are weird, that are creep, and that are gloriously mad. All of this in the idea of collectivizing these psychic experiences. So, Locus, the project itself, the framework, it's a project that explores the intersection between culture and mental health, like I was just telling before, and it does it from a critical and community-based perspective. It promotes cultural rights of people living experiences of psychological distress through a range of artistic actions. We started in 2019. Since that we have been developing a lot of projects. Today we will only be talking about two. And here I just wanted to list some of the achievements or actions that we have been developing. That is the framework of action. All of this is developed by Na Colectivo, that is an association, a non-profit behind the project. So the association focuses on cultural projects with a social focus, and we develop mediating processes. We work with contemporary and creative practices. It's the three of us that you're seeing in the pictures. My two co-workers are Anna and Francesca. And as you can see, we're an intercultural and transdisciplinary team ranging from design, architecture, policy, etc. Well, this is just to show up one of the learnings that we have done in order to sustain this type of processes. That is the need to have always allies that are diversified and that are big in number to sustain all these type of projects. And here I just wanted to say thank you to Culture and Health for the invitation today. And if you want more information, here is the Instagram, Proyecto Locus. I can write it later on. And today, so the two projects I wanted to center on because it's the ones that reflect more how arts can transform educational and youth-focused spaces. The first one is Locus Art for Change, and the second one is The Academy for Boomers. So, Locus Art for Change. The project was done in 2020, more or less, and the idea was to organize a series of artistic workshops with a closed group of people that were experiencing this psychic distress. So the idea was to explore mutual support, humor, and celebration as collective ways of coping with all this suffering. The program was also expanded to a wider audience through an opening party, through public short talks that were on themes related with madness, but also poetry, safe digital spaces, or decolonization. And at the end, we did an intimate closing gathering that was just in a public park at the sunset to talk with the whole participants. The results of these projects were an online exhibition and a short documentary film. I can also pass the links for everything. The short documentary film, I think, shows very well the atmosphere that was created in this project, and it has English subtitle, so that's a good part. And one of the most meaningful things is that we managed to work into a community health center that in a room that was an ancient surgery room they lend us this space, and so we managed to create a cultural space inside a healthcare space, which was very powerful. I listed some of the learnings, even though it was hard, I have to say, and also because Marie told us to not only tell the beautiful parts of the projects, but also the ones that are difficult. So the first learning, unconventional spaces require unconventional alliances. Here is just the idea that the fact that we were working in a healthcare space transformed the way the project was working. But we need to not simplify or romanticize these relationships because it wasn't always easy. So healthcare spaces have a hierarchy, have some structures, and to be able to navigate them, we needed some time to understand how everything was working. Some people were friendly to this idea of working through art, but other people were more skeptical. And I think that time is one of the things that made it easy with the time. Second, the secure agreements matter more than you think. And this is because we had a document signed and official that said that we could use this space. This was something we really struggled to get at the beginning of the project. But several years later, the space told us that we had to leave. And the fact that we had this paper that was signed made us be like we were able to stay in this space up until today. So our advice for people who are developing community projects is to please have written agreements beyond all this, let's say, personal relationships. We know that personal relationships are usually in the center of these projects, but written agreements are always very useful. 3, sometimes adaptations means shifting the work, not just the format. And so this comes because we developed the project in the pandemic of COVID-19. So, okay, the format had to change. A lot of the activities had to become online. But besides that, one of the things that changed was our role or our way of working. Instead of doing artistic mediation, we began to do more of messaging, just checking if people were doing all right. It was a very small group. And having small gestures to keep the contact. We even did some video calls during the confinement, and this really brought the group together. So the advice here would be to ask the question of how are you to all the participants. Fourth, to create meaningful relationships, which means to have like be open to this bond, but also have clear boundaries. And finally, know that cultural workers, we also need spaces to hold difficult conversations. Sometimes there can be a lot of weight in these conversations about mental health and about suffering. So also having this space or specific roles to accompany this pain can be very helpful beyond all the creative skills that are needed. Passing to the second project, so the Z Academy for Boomers. This was a very different project. We developed it in collaboration with Amaca, and it was framed within an Erasmus Plus project. So Amaca was leading the project. The idea was to explore creative practices to collectively reflect on ecosocial crisis and its impact on mental health. The methodology combined different things, so experimental audiovisual screenings, then collective debates or discussions, and finally artistic practices to imagine other ways of living through this period of crisis and design an educational tool. But the educational tool was also directed towards adults. So it was the adolescents designing the educational tool for the adults. We developed different workshops, and in the end, the format that was chosen through the artistic practice of collage was the tarot. So this was just the format of the whole educational tool. We used this tarot with the adults in a second phase of workshops. And here, what was really powerful is that the adolescents saw that their tools and their lections were being taken seriously by the adults this time. So this also managed to shift this hierarchy and to open the conversation way more. There is a downloadable publication on the whole process, and it's all also adapted. And here the learnings, to go very quickly, I don't want to take more time, is that first, young people understand more than we sometimes expect. And so if you think that the concept of experimental audiovisual is going to be too much, it is not. We just need time and adapting sometimes the language and giving space for it to organically move on. The second part is that community health needs a language that people can recognize. Sometimes we have a very academic or very theoretical approach, and starting conversations about everyday experiences, about the relationship with public space, friendship, neighborhoods can open up the conversation way more, and it can help them share their lived experiences and create bond. Third, that young people need to know that their work reaches beyond the room. And this is one of the biggest impacts that we have seen. As soon as a strange person values it, or as soon as an adult also says that this is valuable, for them, the impact is way, way, way bigger. And they have told us like this, that for them, they felt seen for the first time through this whole process. Fourth, going to documentation, because we were talking before about how difficult it is to document this type of processes where the conversation is in the center. We asked an illustrator to create images of the whole process, and I think there is a sensitivity in illustration that moves forward beyond photography or beyond other forms. And finally, sometimes the true start is how you show up, which means the way you introduce yourself as an artist or as someone of the community or of the neighborhood helps starting the process in a very different way. So to conclude, the goals are so to promote these cultural rights of Mat people, and we do it through all of these activities, and to do it through community-based cultural projects. And so these communities work built through time, and some of them are still working. So that is also amazing for us to see that these people keep doing all of this. And we would love to see more projects like this in Europe. So don't hesitate to contact us at any point. We would be happy to connect. And also don't hesitate to ask questions. I went really fast on the learnings. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Iris. And thank you for sharing this. Being a little loco, being a little crazy sometimes really helps. So this is really, really great. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Again, I would like to ask the audience if there are any questions. This is the time. And I'm really grateful for you being so precise about your learnings. I think that really helps when you are so precise. And I'm grateful for so many learnings that you came up with, but in particular, you pointed out creating those meaningful relationships, which includes being clear about your boundaries, about being taken seriously. And to be taken seriously, you have to know where you are, with each other. And that also when you say setting boundaries, being aware of who you are as an artist, not as a therapist, that would be another person, but what you can do as an artist and in that role that you are in.
Yes, I think it also helps reducing frustration, because sometimes just the fact of stating what you can do and what you can't do. We are not therapists. We can accompany, we can live through these processes with you, we can help creating a collective sense of community. But beyond that, there are certain stuff where it's beyond our impact.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Other questions? I'm having a look at the chat. Maybe some more questions will come up later when we come together. But just because I'm aware of the time, I would already go on to Katja. And again, a big thank you to you, Iris. And Katja, please do not feel rushed. Take all the time that you need. Very warm welcome to you. And I'm really happy that you will yeah, make this a round event by adding your wonderful learnings from your work. So welcome, and over to you.
Thank you. I will start sharing of my presentation. So, hello everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is Katja Grässli, and I'm a choreographer, a dance teacher, formal dancer, and artistic leader for Move to Meet. And the title of my presentation today is Dance as a Language Beyond Words. And this sentence is very close to me because we cannot always express everything what we feel and experience in life into words. And dance actually creates in this wordless space a form in which we can communicate on another level with our body, with movement, and with our presence. And today, I will take you into the project I developed currently, and the project title is Dancing with Signs. I develop dance classes for deaf children. Before I take you into the project, I want to give you briefly a little journey to the source of my work and also my relationship to dance, because this is actually the foundation on why I developed Dancing with Signs. So you can go on with the sheet. So as I said in the beginning, dance is for me a language beyond words. And ever since I was a child, I was dancing and express myself through dance, and I could really regulate my emotions with it and go on with my fantasy. It was really a nice space to be. And then I decided, because I found there's so much freedom, I decided to become a professional dancer. And starting with my education as a professional dancer, I realized that in the professional dance work field, a dancer is actually associated with a beautiful body, good technique, a perfect body, and that clashed totally with what the freedom I found as a child in dance. So I really had to think really deep what dance actually really means for me and how I want to represent it in the dance field. And for me, actually, dance is about communicating with your body and also really true communication, pure communication. And therefore, actually, you only need your body with all the imperfection also, because that tells something about you personally. And everyone is so different. There, you have not the same human being on this earth with the same life. So that I found that so interesting. And that was actually the foundation of my work as Move to Meet. And also, I realized that dance is actually important also for our well-being, because dance can transform our emotions. In daily life, maybe we have the risk to get stuck in our emotions, but dance can actually transform it to another level, or you can just put it out. But also in dance, most of the time you dance together with someone, so you are also in connection with other people. So actually, dance is creating a better relationship to yourself and to others. And I developed a lot of social projects for people who have not so easy access to dance, because I found that everyone has the right to have this experience. And yeah, there were different target people, groups also, but in the last 15 years, I was concentrating on collaboration with the deaf community. You can the next slide. So Dancing with Signs. In this project, I developed dance classes for deaf children, and I depart from sign language. And when I tell that to someone, most of the time I got the question, but what about the music? Can they feel the vibrations? But yeah, vibrations, that is interesting. But actually, the truth is, you don't need to hear music to be able to dance. That question comes very much from the hearing perspective. And our society is very much organized by the hearing perspective. So actually you have the regular dance classes we have now are actually really the only communication channel is actually sound, or it is music, or it is instruction with the voice. So for deaf children, that makes that it's actually not possible to participate freely or easily. It's complicated. And with Dancing with Science, I want to change that. I don't want to make it only accessible for deaf children, but also I want to create a foundation where deaf children or hard-hearing children can start for their own language, their own strengths, without first having to adapt. You can, next slide, please. So how dance speaks without music? These questions keep me a long time busy. And because I realized when you look and you see regular dance pieces, the music is actually always the stronger partner than the dance, because music is directing how we really perceive something. It's directing our emotion. So, for example, also in film, it's the same. You have like a man in a car, and you have a really happy music. So you think, oh, he's fine. He's going to go to the party. And then you have the same picture with the dark, heavy attention music, and you will think there is going something really bad to happen. So that is the power of the music. And I was thinking, like, I had the desire to find more independent in the dance from the music. And that's why I did the research in the Master of Choreography in 2012. And sign language for this research was sign language for me very interesting, because sign language is actually similar to dance. It's communicate with the body, with movement, with body language. But sign language can literally communicate, and dance stays abstract. So I thought maybe, I can find that kind of benefit in it to create my own dance language. But during this research, actually, I realized a much more interesting thing. There was a big gap between the deaf community and the hearing community. There was such a big gap. And that has to do with the communication problems. And also with that hearing people are not so much conscious what a deaf person actually needs to be connected, to be able to participate. Sign language was for a long time forbidden on school. The children were not allowed to use the sign language. They had to read the lips. And also, it was sign language is a long time not recognized as an official language. In the Netherlands, they started with this at 2021. So, and that shows that the scarf that deaf people always have to adapt to the hearing society is very deep. So we can go to the next. So I was in this research and I realized, oh, I can develop a new dance language who maybe can speak with the deaf audience, because also I never saw deaf people in the audience. So I thought, where are they? But it's not interesting for them to come to a dance piece where they cannot hear the music, and the music is so important. So they just have like movements left. And I created this dance language to be able to make this bridge over this problem and to bring them in a situation they can really experience fully a performance. I put I put deaf dancers and hearing dancers on stage together with this crossover sign language dance. And also in the audience, the deaf and the hearing people were together. So I also created a kind of a surround program so they can exchange with each other. And that was really interesting and touched me so much. So you can go to the next one. But what touched me even more than what happened on stage was what happened in my rehearsals. Because when you are deaf, then you cannot just communicate with hearing people without a sign language translator. That makes the communication actually like not spontaneously, not direct, and it makes it also complicated. And that creates kind of distance and upset, like distance, you know. And that is really hard for deaf people. But when I saw the hearing dancer dancing with the deaf dancer, then I saw, my God, they don't need a sign language translator. You know, they just can dance with each other. They do gestures and with body expression. And I saw the relief of the deaf dancers, and it touched me so much. And the second thing what also touched me very much is that actually the deaf dancer and the hearing dancer, they are so different. But in this performance, in my performances, they were also equal on eye level. Because when you work with sign language in dance, it's really not so easy as you think. So the hearing dancer needs the help of the deaf dancer to get this done on the right way. And on the other hand, the deaf dancer needs the support of the hearing dancer with rhythm and also maybe audible cues in the performance. And I found these two moments, I found this so beautiful that I actually thought on this moment, this idea came in my head. I have to go in schools and I have to create a situation in which children can experience that you do not need to have the same language to be connected and to communicate with each other. So you can go on.
Right.
Yes. So this is actually the source why I do dancing with signs. And with dancing with signs, I use the sign language, the dance language I developed with sign language as a basic to create dance classes. And now I had the budget from Culture and Health in 2025. I could make a really good start with it. And I'm already also in contact with the deaf schools to develop this further, also for different ages from children, different groups. And this is the first step I have to do. And if I developed this, then later my dream is actually that the schools of the deaf children will collaborate with the hearing schools, and that the deaf children will dance together with the hearing children as the dancers in my rehearsals. So this is actually what I want. And also, I think it's not about making things accessible. It's about to create space that people have a voice and also look to each other with interest, and not so much about pity. You know, oh, you cannot hear. Oh, it must be hard. No. It is also a kind of strength and beautifulness if somebody else perceives the world different than you. It can be interesting, and you can learn a lot about life. You can go on. So now I talked a lot, and I thought maybe I can show you how I translate a poem into sign language, and then I can give you a little example how you could go on with creating dance from it. And it will be very short, don't worry. So first I have to show you how the poems will be translated. So the one I was is not longer. The one I am will not remain. The one I become will disappear. In this change, I exist. Forgetting, awakening, longing. So, and in sign language, the time is in space. So when I point in front of me, that is the future. When I point behind me, that is the past, and the now is directly by my body. And with dance, in sign language, you just stay here, but with dance, you can go through the whole space with this. Or maybe, you know, the movement from change, you can just repeat it or make it bigger or smaller. So that is actually the way I work with the children. We have like sign language, a text, and then we just improvise with it. And I also sometimes I teach something to show how you can make dance from it. But sometimes I also let the children collaborate themselves with each other and just create their own dance. Yeah, you can go on. So, and this is actually also my last message for this presentation. So when we stop focusing on what is not possible and start creating from what is differences do not have to disappear. They can become a source of inspiration, and from there something new can begin. So that's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Katja. Super inspiring. Oh, and I see all those clapping hands. I hope you see them too. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I must say, I mean, we've been having these meetings before already, but every time you name it again and again, I love this way you remember me what inclusion really means. It doesn't mean on focusing on a group that doesn't have the privileges of the majority, but it really means this awareness making and working for everybody and making people aware of what's happening and creating spaces that are open to everybody and to create a language like you do through dance that really speaks to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's very important that not to think about people. For my feeling, the word handicap is already wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not about think about the silly people who cannot hear or cannot walk, because there are strong people and they have something to say, something we cannot see or cannot experience. And that makes it actually the world more interesting. And I think inclusion is still very misunderstood with just make it accessible. It doesn't have to do anything with making it accessible. It has to do with create an open space and listen to each other and be curious about each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it reminds me to the saying that we refer to often, like you don't have to be good in the arts for arts to be good for you.
Yeah.
Which again reminds me of the campaign that we're having with the CARE project, actually. You will find it on the culturecares.eu homepage for this campaign in case you're interested. But that's the thing. It's really, really nice. It's so interesting, and I would love to stay here for much longer, but I see that time is running. I don't see any questions so far or any raised hands. If there are, please feel free. Otherwise, I would just in case, because the next step would be that we go into breakout rooms, just in case someone is short in time and has to leave already. I'd just like to point out quickly what's coming up. In the beginning, I already referred to the trainings that are organized by the Culture and Health Platform members. There are two really great trainings coming up. I think first one from our Finnish partner, but it is in English. And then the second one organized by our Spanish partner, again, organized in English. First one focusing on structure, the next one on clinical environments. Then I already pointed out the open calls for shadowing projects. Both calls are still open. The one for Italy until the 14th of July, so quite a while. For the second one in Finland, you have to be quicker. I think you have a little more than a week to apply. So please feel free to scan our QR code here that leads you to the homepage, but it's the same link that's already in the chat that Cornelia kindly already put earlier. And then just that you know, there will be a conference in Lithuania next week, which is called Bonds of Care, Rethinking Labor in Arts and Health. Maybe you are from this area, so in that case you are around. Please be invited to join. And then, of course, there is our big showcasing conference coming up in early September.